And welcome back everyone to another one of these sit down videos. You guys really seem to be liking these, so I'm going to continue dropping these, as many topics as I can think of, as many things that come to my mind that could potentially help each and every one of you guys, right? Because trading is very nuanced, and while the strategy videos and the 1, 2, 3 tutorial videos are great, it doesn't necessarily hit on the life factors, the emotional factors, the psychological, and even all of the inner things that we're fighting on the charts outside of price action. So in this video, I wanted to cover a very common topic that is, how do I even get to my first payout? Many of you guys have gotten close to your first payout. Many of you guys have even qualified for your first payout and then blew it the day of or the day before you were actually going to get that payout. And if you've done that, do not feel alone. I've done that more times than I can even fucking count in my journey getting to this point. And it's human nature, guys. A lot of this stuff is just basic human nature, and trading is very much a game of unprogramming and retraining that basic human nature. So, how do you get a payout, guys? Well, the first thing you have to understand when it comes to getting a payout is what is actually the goal of your first payout, guys? Is the goal to go out and flex on social media and have a $20,000 screenshot so everybody thinks you're cool and blow smoke up your ass? No, that's not the goal. Is the goal to get a payout that can retire you so you never have to do anything again on your first payout? No, and that's likely not even going to happen. Is the goal to get there as fast as possible and as little days as possible just because you can and the rules allow it? Absolutely fucking not, guys. The goal, quite simply, with your first payout on any account is to simply cover your costs and maybe squeeze out a little bit of profit. Therefore, your goal is to get a positive ROI on the money that you invested into this challenge, right? And the more consistently and the more often you can do that, the more profitable, the more ROI your business as a trader is going to produce. A lot of traders think that it's just about one big payout, or it's just about keeping one account forever or a set of accounts forever, when in all honesty, that's statistically improbable, right? You are going to lose a few accounts here and there. You are going to have accounts you keep for a long time. You're going to have accounts that you don't keep for that long, but all that matters is over that week, over that month, over that year, did you take out more in payouts than you paid in eval fees and reset fees? And if the answer is yes, you are running a profitable business. So with that being said, guys, the very first thing you have to focus on is going from a mindset where you're trying to hit the leaderboard, where you're trying to be the biggest flexer on social media, where you're trying to victory lap and parade in your own success. You need to just focus on covering your costs, and everything else on top of that is a bonus. And how many of you guys would be mad if you covered your eval fee plus you made 5 times of what your eval fee was, right? How many of you guys would be mad if you took out a couple $100s and got to pay your light bill this week with trading? You got to pay your food for the month with trading. It would be a heck of a lot better than what you've probably been doing, which is just pouring money down the drain into eval fees and resets every single month. And I remember this too. I remember that I would refuse to get anything less than a $10,000 payout or a $20,000 payout. It didn't even matter if I was covering my costs by 10x. It didn't even matter if I was 20xing my money in 2 weeks based on what I spent on evals. I wanted to have the biggest payout. I wanted to flex, and I thought, unless it says 10,000, unless it says 20,000, it is not shit. When in reality, guys, those small payouts really do add up. And more importantly than them adding up, is the confidence you build by stacking those wins. The confidence, the belief barrier that you break the first time you take actual money out of the market and put it into your bank account is a belief barrier that sets the foundation for those 5-figure payouts, for those 6-figure and 7-figure payouts, guys. So you have to start small. It's much like the weight room. A lot of people try to go in the weight room and they just put on 245s on each side, and then they injure themselves, and then they got to sit out for 2 weeks and start back at the lightweight anyways. Same thing with trading, guys. A lot of you guys are going in trying to kill shit every single day, and it's only setting you back Whereas if you would have just taken base hits, taken small wins, take a small payout to medium-sized payout, you would actually be able to progress to a big payout. You would have a foundation of confidence and a foundation of belief, and you would actually know that your system's profitable. But when you're going in, when you're trying to hit home runs, when you're breaking your rules just so you can get to the payout faster, yes, you may get lucky and get to the payout, but you're eventually going to give it back with the same bad habits that you got it with. And how do I know this? Because I've made every single one of these mistakes before, guys. In fact, it took me a whole 2 years to get my first payout. It took me 2 years to pass my first eval even, and 2 years and some change to get that first payout. So what was the mistake I made? Why did I find myself in such a fucked up situation that after 2 years of doing this thing that I said I wanted to do for a living, I had absolutely nothing to show for it? Well, the answer's simple. It was because I was doing the same thing. I was trying to rush. I was trying to hit home runs. I was trying to get $1 million capital in my first month when I hadn't even secured a 50K, hadn't even secured a 25K. I just went straight to hitting the 100K accounts. And why? Because I was focused on the wrong shit. All I cared about at that time was being a quote-unquote 7-figure funded trader, even though, as we know, you don't get all 7 figures. You get your max drawdown times as many accounts as you have. But in my mind back then, not understanding the real business I was running, all I cared about was that arbitrary number of 7-figure funded trader. So I chased it. I chased the 100K account. Then I wanted to get 4 100K accounts. And then when I kept losing those, I kept trying to get 10 100K accounts all at one time. And every time I did that, I was losing thousands of dollars. Now, probably 1 year into this catastrophe of a trading career that I started, I actually came across a Twitter space on ICT's page. And in that Twitter space, he was basically saying, unless your model is already second nature to you, unless you've traded this so many times in demo that you could do it in your sleep, you are not ready to risk money. And if you do, you should start off with 1 micro. 1 single micro, guys, right? Exciting stuff. Super, you're going to get rich off 1 micro, right? No. It's boring. It seems, in the moment, the exercise seemed pointless. So me, being a foolish young man, I was like, you know what? I love this guy's trading style. I love the 2022 model, but fuck this advice. I'm risking it all. I'm a risk-adverse dude. I used to do parkour and backflips, so I can handle this shit. Yeah. And then I found myself a year later repeating the same exact mistake, trying to force it when I didn't even know my model like the back of my hand. And I was sitting there, right? I had left my job. I had no money. I was about to be evicted. And I was sitting there in my room just wondering, like, is this ever going to change? Am I ever going to pass one of these accounts? Is this even possible? And I just felt like I was hitting the same wall over and over and over again until I was forced to make a change. I only had at the time $250. 50 of that I had to use to eat for the week, right? Top ramen and tuna. And the other 200 was all of the money that I had to my name. So I could not even afford the 100K account back then when Forex accounts were like $500 for the 100K. So given that situation, I was finally forced to scale down. Back then, I had never even considered going for a 50K, never even considered going for a 25K because I wanted it fast. I wanted it now, and I wanted the big win right up front. I didn't want to build to it incrementally. And where did I find myself? Well, 2 years down the drain, over $50,000 to $60,000 of debt down the drain, and down to my last $200 until I finally was like, oh, well, you know, it's quite stupid to go for a 100K account when I haven't even proved myself on a 25K account. It's kind of stupid to go to a 100K account when I don't even have 10 examples in demo. And the genius in my own mind was like, okay, well, maybe we should just go for the 25K account because that's all we can afford. So I was forced to figure out the math on it. Could this actually produce enough for me to pay my rent? Could this actually produce enough for me to live off of this 25K account? And when I ran the numbers and when I did the math, it did. And that's when I found that you do not need a lot of money to make money in trading if you know what you're doing. If you're catching good setups, if you have a good risk to reward, the amount you can make on 100K versus a 25K is actually very marginal, and it's almost not even that different if you really know what you're doing. Now, what did I do? I bought the 25K account, and lo and behold, who would have thought, I actually passed that account in less than a month. 2 years, guys, 2 years of wasting my time, wasting my money, and worse than that, losing my mental sanity and everybody around me, all because I didn't want to follow the advice that if I would have took at the beginning, would have saved me a whole 2 years, would have saved me $60,000 plus, and would have saved every relationship in my personal life that I had at that time. Now, whatever happened had to have happened. It's God's plan. I do not regret any of it. But being in this position now and looking back, hindsight is 2020, if I were to go back and tell myself one piece of advice that would have saved me the most time, it's stop going for those 100K accounts and the fat payout right off the bat, secure a small account, secure a small payout, break the belief barrier, and then go from there. And that's exactly what happened when I decided to scale down. Shortly after I passed that 25K, I got my first payout. It was only $247. You can go on my Instagram reels and probably see it. $247 was my first ever payout. And guys, I can't even begin to tell you how important that $247 is to me still to this day, because it was at that moment where I finally took money out of the market and put it in my pocket after completely failing for the past 2+ years. And guess what happened after that? A belief barrier broke, and I got another payout of $700, and another payout of $1,000, and another payout of $2,000, and so on and so forth. I was able to pay my rent, and the week after that, because I had built that confidence, I passed my first 100K account, and then another 100K after that, another 100K after that. By the end of those months, I had over 425K in funded capital, and I had taken over $11,000 out of the market, all because I scaled down to scale up. So the moral of this story, guys, is if you keep hitting that wall, if you haven't even proved you're consistent on a low amount at a low weight, how are you going to prove that you're consistent at the highest one possible? It's just not going to fucking happen. If it does, it's going to take a lot more agony and a lot more struggle than it really needs to if you would have just gone back and learned properly. But you have to have that moment, guys. You have to have that moment like I did, where I looked back and I was like, ICT, man, I didn't follow anything you said. I went down the path of trying to do it my way. I went against your advice, even though you know a lot more than me and have way more success than me, and I fucked it all up. So here's me coming back after 2 years of being an idiot. I'm finally ready to do it right, and I scaled down, and guess what, guys? I had my breakthrough. From that moment on, trading was real. It was ingrained in my belief system now that this is possible, that this can happen, but it didn't start with a huge payout. It started with a 25K account and $247. So if you're struggling to pass, guys, that is what I'd recommend. Even if you're struggling to get a payout, you may have to scale down to scale up. Take one step back to take 3, 4, 5 steps forward. Now, next I want to talk about actually getting to that payout, because there was a lot of things that I had to do in the future from that moment to keep securing consistent payouts, because it was not a straight line. I didn't go straight from that 400K all the way up and up and up. I still blew up all those accounts eventually and had to start from square one. I passed them again. I got more payouts. And then guess what? The US shut down CFDs and most Forex firms. So I ended up losing all my funding, and I had to start over in the futures market. And along that process, there were many times where, because of anxiety, because of what was going on in the world, I got right to the final payout target. I got right to the day before, just to fuck it up. And I can't tell you how many times I did that. There were even times where I did have the payout target met, but because I wanted more that day, because I wanted a perfect round number, I pushed for more and I ended up blowing up the whole entire thing. And I see this happening a lot in the Discord, in the live streams, and even in some of my mentorship students. You guys will get right to the last day of the payout, or you're 2 days away, or you're a couple $100 away, and you just blow up the whole thing into smithereens and have to start back at the eval stage. And most of the time, guys, it is because you are not approaching it strategically. You're playing right into the prop firm's hand. You're doing exactly what they want you to do, which is rush to the payout. Understand, once you make it to the funded stage, guys, there is no more timeline. The only timeline you had before was the monthly fee. It was going to charge you every month for the eval. Now that you're in the funded, that shit is gone. So the pressure is off, or so you think. But these prop firms are tricky, so they're going to try, even though there is no timeline, there is no time limit, they're going to try their best to convince you that there is. And how do they do that? Buffer days, minimum profit target days, minimum request to payout, daily payout. All of these things are simply mechanisms to get you into a mindset where you're rushing the process, where you think it has to happen in a certain amount of days, and a certain order, and a certain amount of trades, and a certain amount of profit. All of this stuff is foolishness. All of it is pointless, and you don't need to pay attention to any of it. It doesn't matter. It is simply there to make you rush and try to squeeze a payout into 5 straight days, or 3 straight days, or even 1 straight day. TPT is notorious for this, where people blow up their account on the first day because they know they can get paid off of the trades for that day. Because it's no longer eval and your actions can actually produce money, the FOMO becomes even worse. The greed becomes even worse. So how do you combat this? How do you put those things at bay so you can focus solely on the process? Well, here's how, guys. If you are on an account where most of them, it's 5 minimum days of 150, and then if you have a consistency rule, of course, that's a factor, but most of you guys don't have a consistency rule on your prop firms. So what is the approach? Do you go in there every single day trying to hit the max profit you possibly can, using the most contracts ever, and hoping and praying that every 5 days in a row you get lucky and hit a home run? Absolutely not, guys. The real approach here is least exposure for biggest outcome, least exposure for biggest ROI. So what do, guys? 1 or 2 of the days, if you have consistency or not, go in there and make what will be a regular profit, right? Risk a decent amount. Don't full port the whole fucking account. Risk a decent amount. Aim for a 1 to 2, 1 to 3. Do that for 1 day or 2 days if you need the consistency, and be good. That is the lump sum of your payout, guys. And if you're using the top and bottom tick strategy on a 50K account, that'll probably give you around $3,000, guys. 1,500, 2 grand, 3,000. And if you're using multiple accounts, of course, that'll be per account. But nonetheless, you have a lump sum that you can request as your main payout. Now, what do you need after that? Well, depending on how many days you hit big on, you either need 4 winning days, minimum of 150, or if you had 2 winning days already at normal size, you need 3 winning days of 150. So what do, guys? You only need to make 150 on the day. So do I go in there with $1,000 and potentially lose the profit I built on the days before just to try to get more when all I need is 150? No. I'm going to go in there with $50. I'm going to try to catch a 1 to 3. I'm going to bag that 150, and then I am going to fucking leave. And then the next day, I'm going to try the same thing. If I take a loss, if I take a $50 loss, what do? I stop for 24 hours. Why? Because in 24 hours, that resets. So instead of having to make 50 and 150, 200 total just to hit my minimum qualifying day, if I just wait 24 hours, well, now I can just hit 150 again. The $50 barely even makes a dent in the profit I already made on that first day. And, I just go in whenever it's clever and catch that second 1 to 3. Now, you just do that for the remaining qualifying days, guys. Go in with the least amount If you want to as well, you can do $75 for a 1 to 2. That's also $150. But chip away. Just base hits, guys. Secure those 4 winning days, those 3 winning days, and then the other ones. Go with a normal amount of risk and get your payout amount. And when the payout is ready, you request the payout, you cover your costs plus 5 to 10x more. So let's just say you spent $100 on the eval, but your first payout is like $1,500. Well, you guys, you just 10x, you just 15x in less than 2 weeks. Is anybody going to be mad if they put their money in a stock market account for retirement and they 15x their money over 10 years? Nobody's going to be pissed about that. But we're pissed when we 10 to 15x our money in 2 weeks. But because it wasn't a $20,000 payout, because it wasn't a $10,000 payout, it just doesn't matter, right? It's just negligible. Wrong, guys. You are running a business. The goal is ROI. The goal is more profit than you invest in expenses. So if you're making that first payout and it's anywhere above $100, you are making money. You are multiplying your money. You are getting a positive ROI. And guess what, guys? I just had two students get over a $10,000 payout simply by following these rules. And they were not even trying to get a $10,000 payout. They were only trying to do what I told you about, and they still ended up getting over $10,000 worth of payouts. So it's kind of funny as well, guys. When you do not try to swing for the fences, a lot of times you end up just getting the result or close to the result that you wanted in the first place. So give this a try, guys. If you've been making this same mistake, if you've been fucking up in the exact way that I just talked about, go in, get those minimum qualifying days, take it slow, and again, you don't have to get it every day in a row. There's nothing wrong with taking 2 weeks to get a payout versus 1 week. There's nothing wrong with taking 7 days to get the payout versus 5 days. It's a heck of a lot better than going all the way back to the eval and taking 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, guys, especially at the very end. A lot of you guys fuck it up on the last day because you cannot wait 24 to 48 hours. So if that's happened to you, if you blew it at the final day of the payout when you were just about to qualify, guys, you have to ask yourself, would you rather wait 24 to 48 hours or would you rather wait 2 to 4 weeks again and go all the way back to that eval phase? And worse off, now you spent twice the money, so now you have to make twice the money just to get a positive ROI. And this also usually comes down to trading your P&L, which brings me to my last point. Guys, understand profit targets, minimum days, all of these arbitrary numbers, even the numbers in your head like, oh, I want to make 1,000 a day or 500 a day. All of these things are false targets, guys. You're never going to predict if it's going to happen. You're never going to predict the exact number. And by aiming for that exact number, you actually fuck yourself over a lot of the time because you're too attached to that expectation. So what does this cause? This causes you to not focus on the candles, not focus on what price is actually clearly telling you, but it focuses your attention on the dollar amount, and you start to make your trading decisions based on the flashing number on the screen and not on the candlesticks that are actually telling you what's going on. And this can happen in a lot of ways, guys. A lot of you have experienced that when you get closer to your profit target, you start to make worse decisions because the fact that you're close, the fact that you're right there makes you want to rush it even more. It makes you feel like you're entitled to it. It makes you feel like if I just get lucky this once, I can push past this barrier and not have to wait, when in reality, that is an illusion, guys. The odds never change. I don't care if you're 5 minutes away from a payout. I don't care if you're 1 day away from a payout. I don't care if you're 100 days away from a payout. Does not change the probabilities, does not change the odds, and it does not change the fact that the only correct decision is to follow your trading plan. Now, many of you have also experienced that on the first day of your eval, you trade really well because there's no pressure, because you're not conscious of the fact that you're close and you're not far either. You're just right smack dab in the middle. And for a lot of you guys, that gives you enough comfort to execute. When you're in profit, you're scared to give it back. When you're close to the target, you're scared to go too far back and far away from the target. And when you're right there at the target, you're way too confident in just going ahead and trying to get right there to the target just because you're close. And what does this all come down to? awareness of your P&L, awareness of how close or how far you are, and trading that number versus trading the candles. So what's the solution? Well, this is what I had to do in my own situation. This is what I had to do in my own case. And it's also what we implemented for the 2 students who just got their payouts who were also having the same issue. What you want to do, guys, is just completely make yourself unaware of what your P&L even says, right? Go in TradingView, change it from dollars to ticks. So you're now seeing ticks fluctuate versus a dollar amount. Take your P&L on your trade copier or your Ninja or Tradeovate or whatever it's connected to, hide that with another window. Open another Safari window, put it over the numbers. Drag it off to the side on the side of your monitor so you can't even see the numbers flashing. You don't even know how much you make. You're purely trading candles, risk to reward, and contract size. You are unaware of what that final dollar amount is. So that way you're not going to be tempted to fix it and make more. And you're not going to be tempted to fix it and get yourself out of a loss if it happens to be a losing day. You're simply focusing 100% of your attention on process and on following your rules. In addition to that, you are not to check your dashboard at all during this time. If you can go a whole 2 weeks without checking your dashboard, without checking your P&L a single time, you know this drill is working. And you simply, like I said, go in, follow your process, trade what price is telling you, and do not focus on the P&L. And the funny thing about this is you might just get an email that says, congratulations, you're eligible for payout. You might just get an email that says, congratulations, you passed your account, and you didn't even know. You didn't even know you passed it. You didn't even know you qualified for a payout. But that is the beauty of following your process, guys, because the outcome is always a byproduct of your process. So as long as you're adhering to the process flawlessly, the profit target doesn't matter, minimum days, all this shit, who fucking cares, guys? You're still getting to the outcome, but you're doing it through process and not by falling into the trap that prop firms want you to fall into. If they didn't want you to pay attention to the profit target, why would they blast it all across their home pages, all in your dashboard? Why would they give you that little meter? Why would they even do any of that stuff? Because they know you're going to be overly focused on it. They know it's going to make you emotional, and they know it's going to tempt you into bad decisions. So do not fall for their trap. Do not play into the game. And guys, I still do this to this day. I have no idea how much my payout is in any of my prop firm accounts right now, but I know I've been following my process flawlessly. I know my win rate is 80 to 90%, and I know my average risk to reward is 3R to 4R, and I know that every time I take a loss, I scale down and I manage my risk exactly how I planned. So when I look back and I go, oh, I can request a payout, it's usually a number bigger than I expected, which is exactly where you want to be, and it's exactly what you want to do. So implement these things, guys. Give them a try. Give all of them a try. Give one of them a try, whichever sticks out to you, whichever you feel could help you best in your current scenario. And comment and let me know if you have any questions or if you learned something from this video, guys. But other than that, just wanted to drop this. Let me know how you like this one. Other than that, guys, just wanted to pop out here and congratulate our 2 students, as well as just give you guys some advice that I've noticed has been working for a lot of them, and that worked for me back when I was first starting my journey. So if you want more of these videos, subscribe, guys. Comment if you have any ideas as well. And until next time, guys, take care, be blessed, and I will see you in the next video.